right, in this video we're looking at distance between 2 points and looking at midpoints as well. So this is 5.4 in our syllabus, and we're going to start with the distance between 2 points. So I say here, how can we use Pythagorean theorem? Well, that's because anytime we graph on a coordinate grid, we can always end up making right angles. So let's start with these two specific points. If I graph my first point, I always start with my x, then my y. They go in alphabetical order. X is always the horizontal one. So over -3 and up to 7. So there is going to be my first point. My second point is at 6, 1. So here I am, over 6, up 1. So I want to know this distance between those 2 points. That's what I'm looking for. That's my x value. So, like I said, we can always draw a right triangle. I can either go this way, or I could come this way. So let's put in some right triangle legs with different colors. So I could come down to here and over to here, making my right triangle. So remember, I had my point -3, 7, and this point over here was 6, 1. So what I'm looking for, if I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem, is how long this piece is. I can count the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Counting across, I know that's 3, and I went over another 6, so that must be 9 on the bottom. So I've got a little right triangle that looks like this, 6, 9, and I want to know my x. Pythagorean theorem tells me that x squared is equal to 6 squared plus 9 squared. So that means that, let's figure that out, 6 squared plus 9 squared, I get 117. So x squared is 117. That must mean x is the square root of 117. And then I could do my approximate. So square root of that, 10.8 is my distance between those 2 points. So that's in general, sorry, that's specific to those 2 points. In general, we would like to have a formula for that. So let's look at our formula booklet to try and find that. So in our formula booklet starts with prior learning. So this is actually under prior learning, and we're in topic 5. So notice we've got all these areas, and we also have the formula for distance between 2 points. So if I have 2 points, x1, y1, my second point, x2, y2. So I'm not multiplying that one, it's just telling me first point, second point. This says I do x1 minus x2 and square that, and then y1 minus y1 and square that, add it up and take the square root. So let's come back to our triangle here. So notice my x coordinate at this point was -3. And then my x coordinate down here was 6. We said the distance between the x's was 9. So notice that 9 is the same as 6 minus -3. So I take this x value, subtract this one, and I get the distance. If I look at my y value, I've got 7 minus 1 made my 6. So let's go back and look at these. So -3 and 6 made up my 9. 7 minus 1 made up my 6. If I go in the same order, notice that I would end up with having, for my y values, if I went in the same order, I would have 1 minus 7. Well, that would end up giving me -6, but if I squared -6, it's still going to be a positive number. So it doesn't matter which values we start with. If I start with the 1 minus 7 and I get a negative answer, that's okay. So it's okay because I'm going to square it. So if I did that in my calculator, I can't do -6 squared, because that means square the 6, then make it negative. I would have to do -6 squared plus 9 squared, and I would end up with my same value of 117. So if we had two random points, A, B, and C, D, if I want to find the distance between those two, I'll call that y. The distance between those two, I would say y squared is equal to, I'm going to subtract my x values, A minus C, and square that, plus my y values, B minus D, and I'll square that. So that's Pythagorean theorem turned into distance formula. Notice to get y by itself, in the end I have to square root that answer.